Hello and welcome back to another edition of Chill with Kaiju Kim. I'm Kaiju Kim. Hope you're all doing well on this lovely Sunday afternoon, evening, whatever time it is for you. If you're watching this stream, more than likely you've watched a Godzilla movie or two, or several. More specifically, the ones produced by Toho. But I bet not all of you have actually read a Toho Godzilla movie. My guest tonight is not only passionate about the King of the Monsters, but is passionate about reading and writing, so much so that he created the Godzilla Novelization Project, and he's here to tell you all about it. Ladies and gentlemen, please welcome Mr. Danny DiManna.
Why, hello.
Hello there.
Hello there, indeed. Yes, I'm super happy to be here. Thanks so much for inviting me on.
Thank you so much for coming. It's an honor and a pleasure, my good sir.
The feeling is mutual.
Oh, yes, indeed.
Yeah, very much so, yes.
Very well. Let's see who we have in the chat.
Oh, goodness.
Monsieur Michael Hamilton. Welcome, good sir.
Mr. Hamilton. Goodness gracious me.
Oh, dear. And John Johnson. Welcome.
Johnny, my man, how are you? Good chat.
Jolly good time. All right.
I'm going to do that the rest of the stream if I don't stop now. I will.
And I'll join you. So it's better we stop that now. Okay. How's it going, Loaf Meat? What's good? All right. So Godzilla Novelization Project. That is a huge thing. You got a lot of fans. What you got, like 2,000 well over 2,000 Twitter followers.
Oh my God. I think it's at 2,680 as of right now.
Wow. That's a
like
lot.
And this is from someone who didn't have any social media at all, personal or otherwise, before I started this project a few years ago. And that's a huge number. And it blows my mind, one, and it's just incredibly humbling too, that many people have jumped on board and are interested in what I'm doing and or the very silly monster related things I have to say on social media.
Yeah, it's good stuff. All right. A few more people popped in. Shadow ZS, I hope I said your name right this time. Fruity Charles, how's it going? All right, so let's get right into the interview. I'm going to interrogate you and all about your stuff. Okay, great.
All right, go for it.
All right, so first and foremost, the most important question, who or what got you into Godzilla?
Oh boy. Godzilla is one of those things that's been with me for as long as I can remember. I honestly couldn't tell you when I first heard the name. It's just kind of one of those things that's ubiquitous, like everybody, I feel like kind of everybody knows what it is. I don't know if there was ever a moment where I heard the name for the first time and went, what's that? But my first, honest to goodness exposure to Godzilla proper came in 2000 when Godzilla 2000 came out. I was 6 or 7 at the time, and this was right off of the writing on the coattails of the 1998 film having come out, and I hadn't seen that one yet. But I happened to go to a friend's house and this was before all of my friends grew out of Godzilla when I was a kid. I know, it's poor unfortunate souls, right? But back then I had a friend who had a couple of the Japanese films in his collection, and Godzilla 2000 had just hit home video, and he had a projector in his basement, and he said, "Hey Dan, we're going to watch a Godzilla movie." So I went over and we watched the first 2/3 of Godzilla 2000, during which time my jaw was like distended from my skull and had fallen to the ground because it was the most amazing thing I'd ever seen in my life. As a dinosaur kid, that's like the next step up, right? Because now it's a dinosaur that breathes fire and can blow up a building. And it just, everything about it, from the tactile feel of the practical effects to the the great story that Godzilla 2000 has and stuff like that. And even the dub, just like kind of the exotic nature of the dubbing process captured my attention. And like I said, I got about 2/3 of the way through and had to leave because at 7 years old, I am at the whim of whoever drove me there that day. So I had to go home. Right. I'd have stayed if I could, but immediately upon coming home, I regaled my poor mother with tales of the amazing things that I had seen at my friend's house. Oh my God, Godzilla! This is so amazing. And my mother, who is a remarkable human being, and one of the reasons I love genre films, because we grew up watching stuff like The Day the Earth Stood Still, and she introduced me to stuff like Lost in Space. You know, like that's why I love that stuff. She sat me down, hyper 7-year-old me, and said, you know, there's like a lot of these movies. There's like a lot of Godzilla movies. Mind blows up again. So my whole family, mom and my brother and I, we all jumped into the car and went to our local library to pick out Godzilla movies on tape. And the first film that I picked out was Mothra versus Godzilla, which was being sold under the title of Godzilla versus Mothra, and it was the Godzilla versus the Thing cut, the American cut. And so that became the first one I saw like the whole way through. And then my brother, who's younger than me, was there, and he also wanted to pick out a Godzilla film, and he picked out the one with the cool 3-headed dragon on the cover. Ooh. So my first 2 full Godzilla films were Mothra versus Godzilla and Monster Zero. This great way to start. And it's all been downhill from there, but it's been downhill in an uphill kind of way, because I mean, as you can see, it's kind of like taken over my life. Oh,
really? I couldn't tell.
No, and that's just one wall. I mean, this is it's out of control. I mean, over the years, I found more of the movies, most of them on tape at the time. I started going to G-Fest as I got older. I started reading up. I started learning about the people who made the films, and it gradually grew into an obsession. You know, just like a passion that has always just been kind of an incredibly deep part of my life. And it surrounds me. I'm nesting in Godzilla right now. Like it's all over the place. I love it.
Nice. Fruity Charles says that collection is great looking. I agree.
Thank you.
I think you might have more stuff than I do.
It's this wall is just my my Bandai vinyl stuff. I mean,
that's
over
here, I've got small portion.
Yeah, like I got monster arts over here. Some model kits over here. Like it's if I were to spin this camera around, this is the second bedroom in my apartment. Which after my roommate moved out many years ago, I transformed into a kaiju cave. And so, I mean, it's literally, if I were to spin the camera around, it would just be Godzilla, 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 Godzilla all the way around. It's this was a room I worked very hard to get, just working odd jobs and just trying to make ends meet, once, adulting, this was my reward. And I love this room.
Awesome. I love it too. And I've never even been in there. from what you're telling me, it sounds like a dream for me.
It's great. I've actually had people ask me if I'd be willing to do like a tour, like a video tour of it, because I got Godzilla stuff all over my apartment.
Please do. Please do a tour. I will watch it.
I think I will. I think I'll do that. I think because it seems like people want to see it. I've got a lot of cool stuff. I've got. And again, I'm not going to turn the camera, but I've got, I have a screen used miniature building from the 1998 Godzilla in a cabinet next to me. So I've got I've got props too. Like I don't want to sound like I'm bragging, but I really, really don't. I don't want it to be like, I got so much cool stuff, but I really do. Like I've got a lot of cool collectibles. I'm a creative person. Obviously I'm a person that likes to create things as an artist, as a writer, and I find that surrounding myself in the things that inspire me help me stay in a creative mental space. So that's why if you walk into my home, it's just nerd stuff all over the place.
That is amazing. I love that.
Thank you.
Real quick. Hello, Alyssa. What's good? I adore hearing you discuss your passion, Danny.
Thank you, Alyssa.
It's awesome. All right, from Shadow Zayas. Did I say it right this time? Please tell me. Either of you have Godzilla tattoos. I do not. Do you?
I do not. I do not. I'm not really a tattoo person, but if I were to ever get a tattoo, 100% would be Godzilla related. 100%.
Yes, same with me. I'm not really a tattoo person, but definitely, I'll maybe get a Biolante tattoo if anything.
That would be really cool.
Yeah,
That would be really cool. Biolante rocks.
yeah. More specifically, this form.
Yes. Yes, indeed. Mine's back here somewhere. Buried.
Awesome. All right, so let's get to the nitty gritty.
Mm-hmm.
What is the Godzilla Novelization Project?
It is insane.
That is what it is. Very good.
That is what it is.
Stream over.
Yep. Thanks for coming, everyone. I'll be here all
That's
week.
all you need to know. It's insane.
It's completely nuts. And it honestly is. But the general synopsis I generally give is that it is a very long term creative endeavor on my part to create the first full length novelized adaptations of all of the Japanese Godzilla films, with the intent of sharing the resulting novels one chapter at a time, kind of serialized, with 100% free with any and all Godzilla fans who might like to read them. And they're free. I mean, obviously they're free because I'm working on trying to own the Godzilla IP. It hasn't happened yet. Toho hasn't returned my calls. But the project functions on what I call the "please don't sue me" fan fiction principle, because it's in general, like, the GNP isn't really what I'd classify as fan fiction because I'm adapting work that already existed. But it does function on the same "please don't sue me" Toho, I love you guys, please don't take my money kind of principle, where I present what I write to everyone for free. Nice.
So, when did you know that you needed to take on this project?
Oh man, so the idea for whatever wires in my brain had to get crossed for me to think that this was like feasible, because it's such a huge undertaking, actually happened back in high school, because I've been a big reader my whole life. I mean, I've been reading books since I was literally able to read books. And back in high school, I just devoured books. I devoured fiction. Just anything I hadn't read yet, I would just pick it up and read it. And being a Godzilla fan in high school was really the time period where I started really getting into Godzilla. When I was a freshman, I got Dave Callett's Critical History and Filmography of Toho's Godzilla series, which to this day is still like my Godzilla Bible. I love, and it's the outdated version that was written before the 98 film came out, and it's all beat up, and I take very good care of my books, but that book is a mess because I read it so much. But that was when I was really starting to get into the character, and I was reading stuff like Bill Tsutsui's Godzilla on My Mind, and I tracked down copies of Japan's Favorite Monstar, and I got a subscription to G-Fan, all that good stuff. And it occurred to me that there was a lot of not a whole lot, but enough that I had a few of them, nonfiction informational texts on Godzilla, which I love. And I'll still pick up new ones whenever they come out. Like John LeMay writes fantastic nonfiction, historical, research-heavy books on Godzilla, but there's not a lot in prose. There's not a lot of fiction. And I mean, Random House had their Godzilla books that they did in the 90s, which are all great. And pardon me. There are the many comics that have come out and picture books and things like that. But there's never ever been, there weren't novelizations, because during that period, I also fell in love with film novelizations, because I found them to be a very fascinating alternate take on a world that I thought I knew, like I thought I knew how this world worked. I thought I knew everything, but reading it gives you a chance to kind of look at it from a different perspective and navigate through the narrative in a different way. And that just didn't exist for Godzilla. And in my then like 17-year-old brain, I got it into my head that I should try writing one of the Godzilla books as not movies, as a book. And I started with, whichever one was on my mind at the time. I want to say it was Godzilla versus, it was either King Ghidorah or Space Godzilla. I don't remember which one, but pardon me. Whichever one it was, I sat down, 17-year-old me, never written anything like this in my life, and jotted down a simple little prologue. And I got maybe 2 prologues in, and then it suddenly caught up to me, and I said, wait a minute, this is nuts. There's like, at the time there were 28 Japanese Godzilla films. And I looked at that number, and then I looked at another number, 17 years old. And I said, you're crazy, Dan. What are you thinking? You have to function. You know, you have to like graduate high school. Like, you don't have time for this. And it became it was one of those pie in the sky ideas that I kind of had to push to the back of my brain. It's one of those like, well, that'd be nice, but when am I ever going to do that kind of things? It's like, it's not feasible. And I was 17 years old. I didn't know what I was doing. I was a kid. So I took my school notebook paper that I jotted the prologues on and stuffed them in a binder and literally put it on a shelf. And I said, okay, I'm going to go to college. I'm going to do all this stuff. And over the years of college, over the years of, going to G-Fest, and then in 2016, I got to go to Japan, which was, that's a whole other live stream. I can't get down that rabbit hole, or we will not talk about the GNB. It'll just go crazy. It was my entire bucket list checked off in one.
I'm so jealous.
I got to go to Toho. I got to go to Katakawa and see the Daimajin statues. I got to go to the Ghibli Museum. It was out of control, and it was deeply inspiring to go on that trip. And I came home from that, and over the next few years, my life kind of changed. I got an apartment. I started. I got a job, like a different job, a newer, like actual real job, and all this crazy stuff was going on. And in the middle of all of that, my younger brother started up a writing project of his own. He's a film and video game reviewer, film critic. He has a podcast now that he co-hosts, but and he also has a website that he writes film and video game reviews. And I love my brother to death. And if you're watching this, Aaron, I'm about to compliment you, so brace yourself. He is an incredibly he's a very critical person, but in a way that's very much appreciated, because as a creative person, or a person that endeavors to be creative myself, I appreciate when somebody can look at me and say, that's not as good as it could be, And so that's the kind of relationship I have with my brother, where if I have something that I've created, and, he can look at it objectively and say, why don't you try that instead? And over the years, he kept bringing up these Godzilla books that I'd started writing as a 17-year-old. And he kept saying, hey, remember that? Those were really good. And I said, they probably weren't all that good, like at all. And he says, no, Dan, they really were. And the more he kept bringing that up, and the more I kept thinking to myself, okay, he's like, he means it. Like, I know he means it. And he took the plunge and started his own website. And he took the plunge and he put his own creative energy, his own creative thoughts out into the world to entertain people. And he believes that I can do that too. So what am I waiting? What am I waiting around for? What's the worst that could happen? And that's when I thought to myself, listen, like, if you're going to be like, it's so easy to start a website now. It's so easy to put your thoughts out there in the form of blogs, on YouTube, anything like that. It's you can do that now, and the technology is there, and the way to get an audience is there. And literally, the hardest thing when it comes to being a creative person and starting something is actually starting something. That's the hardest part. Yep. And I said to myself, I'm not going to let the size of this, because I looked at myself and I said, Dan, this is crazy. This is a commitment this is years of your life. This is an audience that you're, hopefully at the time, I didn't know I would have an audience at all, but I thought if you have one, they're going to be expecting you to work on this stuff. They're going to expect quality, and I'm going to expect myself to keep a standard of quality, not only for my own sake, but because I respect the source material so much. That's a big commitment. And I said, yeah, but it's also really fun. It's going to be really fun. And you're going to get to do all kinds of cool stuff. And you're going to hopefully get to entertain people. And best case scenario, you write something that puts a smile on someone's face one day. And I said, that's worth facing whatever, not fears, but just hesitancy that would have come from starting it. So that's when I knew, I'm going to give this a try. And I started it. I launched the website. I started writing, and lo and behold, an audience starts to form around it. And I still, and here I am, goodness, almost 3.5 years after I started it. And I've made a lot of progress, and I have people who ask me, when's your next chapter coming? And people who've invited me onto their shows to talk about it and interview me. And it just blows my mind that I've come a long way, and I have a long way to go. But I look at it I'm not intimidated by it. Like, I look at it as an adventure, and I can't wait to keep going. If people will keep, showing up and reading it, and I can entertain people, then I can't wait to keep doing it.
That's awesome. I mean, your hard work has definitely paid off so far, and I'm looking forward to see what you do next, because what I've seen so far is really good.
Thank you so much.
I'm sure the people in the audience can agree. From Angus Palmer, cool dad, nice hat. Cool dude, nice hat, good writer, legally conscious individual. The Daniel DiManna story.
I know who Angus is, and if nobody else understood what he just said, I certainly did. So, Mr. Palmer, I doff my cap to thee. Not the whole way. This is as far as it's going to go, but it's bad under there.
It's a hot mess. Like I said before we started, What do you think I'm wearing a bandana? Because I can't unleash this into the world. All right. So moving on. So what's your writing process like? Like, do you watch a movie a few times and take notes? Like, do you research? Like, what's your method?
My general method is to make sure that I, to make sure that I understand the film as good as I can before I start anything else. So yes, my process involves a lot of pushing pause on Blu-rays. Lots of that, but even just that, like, there's a process behind that process too, because and again, this is where the complicated stuff gets in. Generally speaking, best case scenario, let's say I'm going to sit down and write a chapter of the original Godzilla. I'm just picking one off the top of my head. Original Godzilla. I have so many copies of that movie. I've got Criterion, I've got the classic media, I've got the American versions, but in terms of the Japanese version, let's say I'm going to put the Criterion disc in, and I'm going to sit there and I'm going to watch it very carefully, and I'm going to listen to it, because I'm not just taking the dialogue, because the first things I do is I make sure I take the dialogue and I write it down, because then I can weave all the prose in there and make sure that the dialogue works well. But I'm also paying attention to things like camera angles and lighting and some of the directorial choices, cinematography choices, even music choices and sound effect choices, to see how much of that I can replicate within the actual text. One of the big ones that I've done that with is Godzilla versus Ghidorah, which is an insanely visual film. And just trying to find ways of taking Yoshimitsu Banno's visual style and translating that into prose. That's been a challenge. But even within that realm, like, I picked an easy one in terms of the process. Like, I would sit down and watch the original Godzilla and just pay very close attention to it. And then, since I have the films pretty much just in my brain anyway, like they just on a constant loop behind my eyelids all the time, I have a pretty good idea of where I feel like, from a dramatic and a pacing standpoint, chapter breaks would need to come in. So I'll usually sit down and try to plot out a whole chapter. And I'll say, this is my end point, because if I go much farther than that, then it might not flow as well. But the process might also involve going deeper, because I trust Criterion when it comes to the subtitles, but that's not always the case. Let's say, for example, and this was a big one that I faced early on when I started the project, is I started writing GMK. And GMK is one of a handful of Godzilla films that, yes, it's available on DVD and Blu-ray in the United States, but the subtitles are awful. they're dub titles. They don't match the Japanese dialogue. They
I
don't.
hate dub titles.
The bane of my existence.
I hate dub titles so much.
Right? Oh, me too. Oh my god, I completely on the same page there. It drives me crazy. Dub titles are ridiculous, so I can't use the disc as a source for writing my book. I will not, like, it's not even a question. I'm not using the dub titles for my book, because one of the big goals of the GNP is adhering to the original Japanese versions and being as respectful as possible. And the dub titles aren't going to cut it. That's no way. So not going to happen. So what do I need to do? I need to find an accurate script translation for GMK. And how are you going to do that? Are you going to track down like an original script and then get it translated? Or are you going to pardon me, are you going to find a unofficial copy with fan subtitles that might be more accurate and then trust that those are right? So there's all these different parts of the process within other processes that I have to go through to make sure that that each part comes together. But best case scenario, I'll read the script. I do have some of the scripts. I'm trying to get my hands on more of the script, and again, translating them is also a challenge. I don't have a lot of experience in translation, and I'm teaching myself, and I'm also hoping maybe I can hire a translator. I'd also love to learn Japanese more. I know a little, but not enough to, like, when I say I know a little, I mean I know a little. I can't carry teeny tiny. Where's my finger? There, teeny tiny. I couldn't carry a conversation. I know enough to navigate somewhat through Tokyo, but and even then, like I wouldn't be able to remember a lot of it. So I'm also teaching myself new things in order to do this project. That's how into it I am. Like I would very much like to learn at least to speak and understand Japanese more than I already do, which again is like not at all. But yeah. So I guess the simple answer to that question is best case scenario, watch a movie, pay attention, write it down, and then use my imagination to make sure that the prose works. And then, worst case scenario, I have to go hunting for scripts and better subtitles and behind the scenes stuff and Japanese stuff that's only in Japanese books, which I have a lot of them, but they're not cheap.
I would imagine so.
They're not cheap. So it depends on the story. Some of them are easy. I can sit down and say, okay, I'm going to get a chapter of this done. And then some of them I think to myself, oh boy, that's a process. That's going to take a minute.
Wow, that takes a lot of time and patience that I don't have. So more power to you.
Thank you.
Wow. From Angus, talk about the Steve Martin report.
Oh my goodness, Angus. Angus is on point here. Okay, I can talk about that real quick. I mean, is that okay if I jump into that?
I mean, I was gonna get to your short stories and novellas later, but I guess we're talking about it now.
Let's you ask your questions in the order that you wrote them, and I'll address Steve Martin when we get to that. That's
all
fine.
Right. Well, yeah, we'll get to that. We'll get to that in a little bit. Yeah.
Yeah.
All right. So I was browsing through your website, and I noticed that you have like multiple novelizations being written at once. So I imagine that would be challenging to juggle everything, especially with what you just told me. So am I accurate in that assumption?
In some ways, yeah. There's a couple reasons why, because I get that question a lot, is why are there all these different books started? I want to say I have something like 10. I don't know. You think I would know this, seeing as how I wrote them, but I, off the top of my head, 10 of them, and then multiple short stories, as you mentioned before, which we'll get to. There's a couple reasons for that. And one reason is when I launched the website, I kind of got it stuck in my head that I shouldn't just have it be one book at a time, because I wanted to kind of create a broadness to what the website offered in terms of its books. So let's say, because the first book I started was the original Godzilla. And that is, I actually had to step away from that one for a hot minute because I was like really into the research on that. And a lot of it I already kind of know, but I wanted to go even deeper. And so I was reading testimonials from A-bomb survivors and H-bomb survivors because of I was looking into the Daigo Fukuryu Maru incident, which I already know a lot about, but I wanted to know more. And I was reading these deeply sad stories that I won't talk about here, but needless to say, it made me very sad, and I had to just kind of step away and go like hug a puppy for a while. I had to get away from that for a minute, because it was just making me sad. But you got to go there to make the original Godzilla work, right?
Mhm.
Like, it's
Yeah.
I want to get, again, that one's the one that, like, that one freaks me out a little, because that one, like that, I mean, I don't want to mess any of them up, obviously, but
Yeah.
like, the original Godzilla is a film I deeply, deeply respect, and I want to give it 1,000% best I can do. And I feel like I need to know some of this horrible stuff to really kind of get in there. But let's say somebody doesn't necessarily want to read the dark, depressing first Godzilla movie. Maybe they want to read something a little bit more lighthearted. Maybe they're in a Godzilla mood, but they're in more of a Gigan mood, or a Heisei mood, or a MonsterVerse mood, or a Shin Godzilla mood, or anything like that. Maybe they want to read a particular book that was based on a movie that was important to them as a child. Something mid '60s or from the 1970s, a little bit goofier. And so I said, I'm going to jump around a little bit, because I want to provide that variety. So if somebody doesn't want to read dark and depressing, they can read lighthearted and fluffy. They can read sci-fi. They can read fantasy. They can read horror. And it also pushed me to experiment in writing in those different ways, because that's a genre jump, for not just for reading, but for writing. So it was there to provide some variety for readers, but it was also there as a way for me to kind of offset one of the things that sometimes gets to me when I write, which is, if I focus too hard on one particular book, I start to feel my writing slip a little bit. And like, if I was going hard on Gigan, or I was going hard on the original Godzilla, or GMK, or something like that, at a certain point, I feel like I'm like so into it that I start to make little mistakes, and I don't want to make any mistakes. I don't want to make little mistakes, and little mistakes slip through, and I tend to go, I do find them. And I've had readers email me and say, hey, I found a typo in one of these books. I'm like, oh my gosh, thank you so much. Like if anybody out there, if you ever find like a typo, please don't be afraid to tell me. I don't want it there. I will fix it. Don't feel like you're like ratting me out or making me feel bad or anything. That's important, that I know that those things are there, and they have slipped through. And so an easy way for me to kind of combat that is to jump to another book and work on that instead. And then when I feel like I might be kind of iffy on that one, and not mentally able to give it 1,000%, I'll jump to another one. And so it helps. It provided variety, and it helps. It helps me in my writing process a little bit to kind of jump around. And I've had people tell me that that's like ridiculously insane. Like, why would you do that?
I don't think so.
Well, thank you. Yeah. I don't know. It helps me. Sometimes I find a book and I'm just like, bam, I'm into it. But let's say I've written like 2 chapters of a book back to back, and if I feel like the second chapter is not as good as the first one, I'll publish the first one I did, and then I'll set the second one aside, and I'll come back to it with a fresh mind once I've gotten taken some deep breaths and kind of reset myself by focusing on something else. That's I don't know. It helps. That's just kind of how because I don't want to publish anything that's not as good as I can make it.
Yeah, I totally understand that. I'm the same exact way you are. Like, are we twins? Because I think you and I are the same. Because when it comes to me making my videos, I'm like, I get so many video ideas. I'm like, oh, let me do this one. Like, oh, I got another idea. Then I start working on that.
Oh,
and then,
tell me about it. Tell me about it. And because I also have ideas for non-GNP stories and novels that I'd like to do that are original, that if I write them and charge money, won't get me sued. Like actual like books and short stories, and those ideas pop into my head all the time, and I have to juggle GNP with maybe trying to develop those as well. So that's a whole other thing. So it's when ideas pop into your head, the easiest thing for a writer to do is to get distracted. Any kind of creative person. If you're an artist and you have an idea for another painting in the middle of the painting you're already working on, It might, like, that painting you're working on might get shelved, or you might be distracted and mess it up somehow. So it's all about balancing. It's a balancing act. And I'm really, I don't want to give the impression that I'm some kind of expert here. I'm still learning a lot of things as I go, but yeah, I'll figure it out one of these days.
Yeah. Real quick, just want to say hi to Nerd Cage Live. What's good? How's it going? Thanks for popping in. All right. So, next question. If you were to produce an audiobook version of this project, who would you want to read the novels? Like, would you do it yourself, or do you have anyone in mind?
This is a good question, because audiobooks is this absolutely something I want to do. And I've actually had a couple of people that I know offer to read them eventually. Now, audiobooks are something that's really exciting, but it's down the line because I wouldn't want to produce them until the book in question is done.
Mm-hmm.
And I'm still trying to figure out a good way to deliver that. I mean, maybe it would be, pardon me, it might be through Patreon. It might be something that is generally available. I'd rather have it be generally available personally. I feel like that's something everybody should be able to listen to. But again, that's down the line. I would love to do audiobooks, and I've had people ask me about that before. And I have a couple, like, I would love to read some of them. I don't really feel like I have like a reader voice or like an announcer voice or anything like that, or good voice for radio, but I'd like to try. Again, I'm all about trying new creative things. So I'd like to try. And if I get through the book and I listen back to it and I can't stand the sound of my own voice, then I'll see about it. But I do have a couple people that I know that have reached out to me. I have a friend of mine. He actually went to Japan with me. We met up there. We met there, and we have since become friends. And he's an actual, like, actor. He was actually in Peter Jackson's Heavenly Creatures.
Oh.
Yeah, and he has so he's like, actually, he was in a movie.
Nice.
And he emailed me out of the blue a few months ago, just with his phone, and he just read the first chapter of the original Godzilla that I'd written, and I listened to it, and I said, wow, you, sir, might be hired. So he's tentatively lined up to maybe do one. He's a neat guy, great voice, big Godzilla fan. Pie in the Sky, like, I don't know, man. I mean, I feel like it'd be fun to have voices that people might recognize reading some of the books. Like, dude, if I could get Matt Frank to read one of them, that would be neat. He might do it too. I don't know.
Maybe.
You know who'd be great? Kyle Yount. Kyle, if you're listening, Kaiju Cast. He's got a great radio voice. Just some, like, I don't know, maybe I don't know. I'm trying to think, like, because those are people that are within, like, the Godzilla fan community, who I know would be, I don't know if they'd be interested in doing it, but it's at least more up their alley. I wonder if I could get, like, a celebrity that likes Godzilla. Hey, Nicolas Cage, you out there?
Yeah. Oh my God.
Dude,
I would buy the heck out of it.
Godzilla's Revenge, man. Hit me up.
I would listen to that so many times.
Oh my gosh, that would be great. That would be amazing. Or maybe, like, I don't know. We'll get Brad Pitt to do War of the Gargantuas. I know he's a fan.
Christopher Walken.
Christopher Walken. Angus is on fire today. Oh, dude, Christopher Walken would be great. That would be amazing. I'd love to. And then Godzilla unleashed his atomic breath. And
how about William Shatner?
William Shatner. Oh my gosh. Yes, please. This is Tokyo, city of 1 million people. What has happened here today was caused by. Yeah, he could do that. He could do that. Hey, William, what are you up to, Billy boy? Hit me up. Let's do this.
I love it. I love it. All right. So next question. So would you consider having someone help you with the project, because it's a lot of work, like you were explaining earlier, or do you want to do it all by yourself? Like, I know it's like your baby and you want things a certain way. So like, I totally get that if you want to do it by yourself, but would you maybe consider, like, outsourcing at all? Or
that has crossed my mind before. As of right now, I'm perfectly content to just kind of chug along on my own, because, like you said, it is my baby, and I've been I've been really having fun with it, but I won't rule it out because it is a lot of work. And if not necessarily writing, then doing other things like maybe helping to run the website, or maybe even doing art. Because one of the things that I have art on the website for each of that I've made for each of the books. But I thought maybe it would be cool, because one of the things I want to do is once I finish each book, I want to have it like actually, because right now they're all on web pages, which is the easiest way to do it when you're publishing them serialized, one chapter at a time. But I'd like to have like basically take the books once they're done and pump them through Publisher, and then have them look like real books, and then have them maybe downloadable as PDFs. And I thought, man, I'd love to, because I don't know if I could do all of that plus do like a cover design, like maybe have artists do covers for each of the books. That's something that I would absolutely outsource to fans who might want to help me out. Absolutely. And I know a couple of fans who I haven't talked about this to anyone, but I do know a couple of Godzilla peeps who are artists who might do that. And again, that's something that, I mean, I obviously want to pay them what they're owed and what they're worth, because I mean, art, it's amazing seeing what the Godzilla artists are so cool. There's so many creative people in the Godzilla community doing crazy cool things and doing like illustrations and doing just all kinds of interesting stuff. And I'd obviously wouldn't want to just be like, hey, would you like, hi, would you like to do this completely for free? Yeah, that's not messed up at all. No, these people deserve compensation. They deserve some credit. And you know, that might be something I look into down the line. And again, that'll be once things start to get finished, because again, 3 years in and I still haven't finished one of them yet. I'm getting close on one, and I have finished short stories, but and that's why I stopped starting new ones. Like I haven't started any new ones in a year or so, or more than a year, because I got to the point where I felt like I got the variety I wanted, and I'm like, okay, the ones that are up there, I'm going to tinker with those and I'm gonna get them done. But outsourcing like maybe cover art or maybe some website banners or something to artists would be cool. Writing outsourcing, I'm not quite there yet, but I will never say never, because again, this project is like, it's a big one. So
Yeah.
I will never say never.
All right, more suggestions for audiobook.
Tommy Wiseau. Oh, hi everybody.
I did not destroy that city. I did not. Oh, hi, Mark.
Brilliant. I did not destroy the city.
I did not.
I did not.
I did not.
Oh my gosh. Anyway, we got a new client at Tokyo. You come to destroy city. You come to destroy city, huh? Somebody wrote that just so they could hear me do hear us do Tommy Wiseau. I think that was we fell for that one hardcore. Everybody have an announcement to make. I love the room.
Story. What a funny story, Daddy. Okay.
What a story, Kim. That's good.
All right. Yo, Dan says Robert Montserrat.
Robert Montserrat, my man. I got to give him a shout out real quick. Last year, we worked together on translating Shigeru Kayama's original Godzilla novelization from 1954. It was based on one of the earlier scripts. It's not based on his initial proposal, but it's only ever been available in English, not in English. It's never been available. That's the point. It's never been available in English. It's only been in Japanese. And Robert and I have been Godzilla bros for ever, and we've always wanted to work together on something. And he happened to come into a copy of Kayama's Godzilla novelization that had been translated into Italian, and translating from Italian to English is a lot easier than Japanese to English, or even Japanese to Italian. So we pooled our resources together and we said, okay, let's just do this, and it'll be free like the GNP. So I actually have a second website. It's up. It's called Project Kayama. And Robert, who is awesome, illustrated the entire book.
Wow.
We translated it together. He did most of like the heavy lifting translating. I edited it because I'm a professional editor in my non-Godzilla off hours. And he did the artwork and I did the website design. I wrote up some biographical information on Kayama. So the Godzilla novel from 1954 by Kayama-san, the guy who wrote the original, story for the movie, exists in English now, and Robert is a big part of why that exists. And we got to live out a dream doing that last November. So yeah, that's out there if people want to read it.
Awesome.
And check out Robert's super, super awesome artwork that he did for that.
That's amazing. You know some awesome people.
I do. Robert is one of the first people I intend to talk to about doing any illustrations that I might have for Godzilla, like the Godzilla Novelization Project, maybe covers. I have a project that I'm not going to say too much about yet, but it might involve doing anatomical drawings or paleontological drawings, style drawings, and his style is 100% in sync with that. He's a phenomenal artist.
Awesome. All right, now back to this. Steve
Yes.
Martin Report, your short stories and novellas.
Yes.
Is that like a side thing you got going on to keep the brain juices flowing?
That's pretty much exactly what it is. It's smaller, it's more digestible chunks of GNP, your recommended daily intake of GNP. But yeah, it's a project that it's still part of the GNP, but it's just smaller bits of it. They're very experimental, I find. I have a few of them on the website. All but one of them are actually they're all complete, like they're all done except for one. So if you want a GNP project that actually is finished, go read one of the novellas or the short stories. And man, those are a lot of fun to do. Again, they don't take as much time to do because they're not books, but they're shorter. But they're chances for me to dive into the world of Godzilla in unique and, like I said before, kind of experimental ways. The one that, pardon me, that my man Angus keeps bringing up is the Steve Martin Report, which is the first one I did. And if somebody were to like stare me down and say like, what's like something that you're extra proud of on the website, this coming from like a person who's like proud of it. What do you mean? Like I'm my own worst enemy as a creative person. That's what that's how it works. But
Yep.
I am legitimately proud of the Steve Martin Report. The Steve Martin Report is a 2-part novella on the site that retells the events of the original Godzilla King of the Monsters. But it's entirely from the perspective of Raymond Burr's character. And what I basically saw it as an in-universe artifact, because that's the other thing about the GNP short stories, is that they're all part of the world of the story. The Steve Martin Report is literally the report that Raymond Burr's character writes when he gets home after surviving the events of the film. And what I was able to do was, because I adore the King of the Monsters cut of the original Godzilla. I mean, I grew up on it. It's deeply historically significant also, but because when I was a kid, I've watched it go through an interesting transformation, because when I was a kid, it was the de facto like necessary version of the film, because the Japanese cut wasn't available in the United States when I was a kid. So I watched that one. Most people did. And these days it's literally and figuratively a bonus feature, like on the great disc of life, the Great Godzilla bonus disc of life. It's kind of become a supplement now. It's an interesting aside, a part of the story of the original 1954 film, but not worth much more than a supplemental feature on a bonus disc. And of course, the original Japanese version is easily the superior film. It's a magnificent film, but I think for what it was able to do and how it was pulled off, like I love King of the Monsters, and I wanted to honor it. Just for my own, that film meant a lot to me as a kid, and I wanted to kind of pay tribute to it. So what I did was I took Raymond Burr's narration dialogue from the film, that great script written by Alcee Ward for the American cut, and I changed it from present tense to past tense, and then I filled in all of the gaps in the dialogue, and I basically combined what Burr said in the film with me describing all of the stuff that he didn't narrate, and then I had a short story by the end of it. And it was really fun. I got to write kind of in the style of like a 1950s, sci-fi version of a reporter. and I used Raymond Burr's voice in my head to kind of guide me, and anything that I wrote that didn't sound like he'd say it, I deleted it. I didn't use it. And by the time it was done, I had this pretty long kind of alternate retelling of the original film from the point of view of the character Steve Martin. And when I finished it, I said, I love this and I want to do more of them. So I did more of them, and I have a Matango story on there. I have a Rodan story that people have like really, really liked. I get a lot of feedback on that one, people saying they like that one. And the Rodan one is like, I wrote it from the perspective of it being the excerpts from the writings of Shigeru after he has his horrific experience with the Rodans. And then I did the one about it was called the Cosmos Apocrypha, which is translated ancient tablets that tell the story of the war between Mothra and Batra. That was a fun one to write. Just like weird stuff. And I actually have another one coming up here soon that it's going to tackle the original 1961 Mothra from the perspective of Frankie Sakai's character, because Mothra turns, oh my God, 60 years old this year. It's amazing. 1961, 2021. So I'm going to be doing something with the original Mothra. But yeah, I love the short stories, and they seem to get they draw people to the website because they're a little bit more digestible than committing to read a whole book, and it gets people interested in the project. So it's an easy way to do that.
Awesome. So what has been the most challenging part of this project?
Oof. Just the logistics, like the stuff I mentioned before about the logistics of making sure that everything is accurate and as respectful as I can make it. That's very important to me. Difficulty wise, it's kind of twofold, because there's the mechanical difficulty, and then there's like the emotional difficulty. The mechanics of it are just, sitting down and finding time in my day to write this stuff, especially for an audience that really wants to hear what I write and what I have to say, which is it's a very new experience for me. I've been doing it for a few years now, but pardon me, it's been very interesting finding an audience and then working with that audience from the perspective of them wanting and expecting something from me. So, but whatever expectations a reader might have are nowhere near what I put on myself for this. So that's where the emotional end of it comes in, because this is just a guy, a doughy guy from Ohio writing Godzilla books on his computer. But that's the reality of it. But in my mind, I consider it to be like, I feel like I'm, positioning myself to stand on the shoulders of giants, and that's intimidating. And again, the reality of it is I'm just a guy writing things, but I still consider, not necessarily for my own sake, but just for the sake of the legacy of the character Godzilla and the people that worked on it, that deserves respect, and it deserves all the hard work I can pour into it. And it's almost like I don't want to let Godzilla down in a weird way. I know that's weird, but if that makes any sense, like not just like the character, who obviously isn't real, spoiler alert, but just that I know.
How dare you say he's not real? I have him sitting right here. How dare you say he's not real?
Now he's always around. He's always around. He's real in our hearts. No, yes. No, the idea of Godzilla, the concept of Godzilla, is a very real thing, and it's made manifest, and it has been made manifest through the hard work of people on the other side of the planet. 67 years ago, decided that they were going to make a movie to say something important. And the films that have followed, some of them have had socioeconomic and political things and environmental things to say that are important, and some of them are just purely entertaining, and that's also important, completely important. And there's a legacy, a very real Godzilla within that legacy, that deserves respect, even from a guy who's doing something completely separate from Toho. I'm not affiliated with Toho. I doubt they even know I exist, and part of me is a little relieved by that, because I always live in fear that I'm going to get a C&D in my mailbox one of these days. But I'm not earning money off the project at all, and nor would I. A, because I don't want to get sued, and B, I respect Toho and I respect their this thing that they've created. And this is my way of paying back something that meant a lot to me as a kid, means a lot to me now. And I put the biggest challenge for me, I think, is just living with the expectation I put on myself, that I want to take this as seriously as I can. And when I feel like but also in there, you got to have fun, right? Because my version of taking things seriously is to have fun with those things. Because if you're not having fun, you're not doing it right. You got to have fun with it. And I'm very happy to say that as many expectations as I put on myself, as big as this project is, as challenging as it is, I have never not had fun doing it. And that's what's important,
Yep. If you're having fun, that's the best thing.
That's it. And it's at the end of the day, it's like, because I'm definitely writing for an audience, but I'm also writing because it's just fun to do. It's just fun to do. It's fun to, take, the writing ability that I have, whether, the audience can tell me if it's a good ability or a bad ability, but I do write, good or bad. And it's just fun to do. It's just fun to do. And to me, Godzilla, even at his most serious, is all about fun. That's what Godzilla means to me. Is it means having fun in whatever way that specific Godzilla means to you. Like that's the fun part. So yeah, it's most of the challenge, again, aside from the logistical stuff of just finding time to sit and write and going through it and editing it and facing problems that come up, is mostly just pressure I put on myself.
Yeah.
But I'm gonna do that anyway, because that's what people who make things do, is they torture themselves.
Yeah, and it's no wonder you have fun, because as Robert says, Godzilla is inside each one of us.
Darn tootin', Robert.
Yep.
He knows I love Godzilla 2000. He's on to me.
Yeah, that's my favorite Godzilla movie too.
Thank you. It's my favorite. Love that movie.
It's my number one favorite. First Godzilla movie I saw on the big screen. 98 doesn't count.
That's right.
All right, so let's move on to the audience Q&A portion of this stream. Got a couple of Twitter questions here. The first one from our good friend Michael from Kaiju Weekly. He asked something similar to what I just asked you. What has been the most challenging film to adapt, and which has been the most fun?
Now, Michael knows I don't answer his questions anymore.
Because Michael's been canceled, that's why.
We only communicate through a thick wall of lawyers. No, Michael, that is a good question. Michael, mi boyo. He'll understand that once he hears it. We have accent wars all the time where we do voices back and forth. So
can I join in that? I love doing accents.
Oh, do you know? Join in, have a little fun, why don't you? Yeah,
I do. I especially love doing British accents. Sometimes I do it when I'm nervous or something. It just randomly pops up. I don't know where it comes from.
Well, that's lovely, isn't it? That's perfect.
Indeed.
That's dead on, that is.
Thank you.
Blimey, that's excellent. That sounds, well, now I'm Australian, so in order to make this as authentic as possible, I will answer Michael's query in this accent. Crikey, mate. No, I'm not going to do that. I'll drive people. And your stream starts declining immediately. People are fleeing the scene. They don't want to hear me anymore.
All right, get out, everybody.
We're done. No more. Sorry, mate. I've driven everyone away. All right, so Ghidorah has been the hardest book. That is my go-to answer. In terms of books I've started, in terms of ones I haven't started, like Shin Godzilla keeps me up at night, because that one is going to be so dense and thick, full of. There's going to be a lot of research for Shin Godzilla, because I don't know all of the inner workings of the Japanese government and how it functions, and I mean, I can understand enough to obviously enjoy and really love the film, but I don't get it enough to really write from a perspective of authority. So that one's a ways away. I mean, that one freaks me out. I don't want to. I love that film. I don't want to mess it up. I mean, that's why I went to Japan in 2016. Is I saw it on opening day, and in addition to all the other cool stuff I did, I got to see it in a Toho theater, which was really cool. But in terms of the ones I've started, Ghidorah, and I mentioned it a little bit before, but Ghidorah is probably the most visually outstanding and I mean outstanding because it's cool, but also it stands out outstanding. Godzilla film of all. It is a film that is 200% reliant on what you see. It is a visual film, and there's so many weird things in that film. I mean, it's got a black and white scene. Like, how do you write a black and white scene in a book? Like, how do you do that? And I honestly don't know. I haven't gotten that far in the book. But Ghidorah is such a visual feast. It's so psychedelic. It has so many crazy visual things going on. And the thing about all of that is it's not. I've heard it called a random film. Like, a lot of people say that's like the most random Godzilla film. It's got random, random fish heads, random dancing skeletons, random slime cats. It's, but all of that stuff is in there for a reason, right? Like, it's all there. It's all purposeful. It's weird, but it's purposeful. And I feel like I can't like gloss over that stuff, or it won't be respectful of what Bano-san was trying to do with that film. So trying to find a balance between a book that is readable in any language and preserving Bano's very unique vision has been a challenge. But and this is a peek into the special kind of insane I am. Ghidorah has been one of the most challenging creative projects of my life. But as of right now, it is the Godzilla novelization on the website that it has the most work put into it. It has the most chapters. It's the longest one, because every time I sit down to write it, I get sucked in, and I'm like, oh my gosh, how am I going to do this? Like, how am I going to tackle this problem? But yeah, so that one's been the most challenging. And then what's the most fun was the other question?
Yeah, what was the most your fun one?
Oh man, they're all so fun in different ways. Like, they all have a different appeal. I'll say Gigan. I'll say writing Gigan has been fun. I have a soft spot for Gigan because I love the human characters in Gigan. I think they are so fun. They're funny. I mean, Corncob Hippie. Come on. I get to write for Corncob Hippie, you guys. Corncob Hippie. That makes the whole project for me right there. I mean, all joking aside, I love the cast of that film. They're well written. They're funny. They're endearing, and they go on an adventure that occupies most of the film. Like, the monsters are kind of sprinkled in there, and then there's a lot of them at the very end. But it's been fun getting to the main character's head, because Gengo is like a crazy artist, so that's been fun to write. It's such a fun movie. I derive a lot of legitimate joy from watching Godzilla vs. Gigan, and diving into that world and into those characters has been a lot of fun. So I will say Gigan.
Wonderful answer.
That's right.
All right, next question.
That's awesome.
Nathan from the Monster Island Film Vault asks, how are you going to unravel the broken script for Godzilla vs. King Ghidorah?
Blimey, that's a deep cut, isn't it? All right, so how are we going to unravel the novelization? Oh, well, that's a hard one, isn't it? That's a difficult one, that is.
That is a bloody hard one, I think.
That is bloody hard. That's bloody hard. That's ruddy hard is what that is.
Oh dear.
You've got to be blooming thick to try to do that one, yeah? Oh my gosh. No, Nate knows. Nate knows. He's I don't talk to him either without lawyers. So it's no, Nate has a bone to pick with Godzilla versus King Ghidorah. That's the film he will often say that's if somebody let him script doctor a film, it would be that one. And I have a confession to make in front of your audience here today, and I want everyone to be prepared. Godzilla vs. King Ghidorah is, I'm sorry to say, one of my absolute favorites of the entire series.
What? You're not allowed to have an opinion like that. Get out.
I know. A positive opinion? Be gone.
Be gone with you.
Be gone with you. This is the internet.
Get out.
Not a positivity, not a lot. I adore Godzilla versus Gigan. Listen to me. I like that one too. I like Godzilla versus King Ghidorah. That's what we're talking about.
There we go.
It's been a weekend, let me tell you. No, I love that film, and not despite the fact that it has more holes in its plot than a block of Swiss cheese, but kind of because of it. I grew up with that film, so for nostalgia reasons, I'll always love it. But I legitimately, nostalgia aside, objectively adore that film. And this is another peek into my own personal brand of insanity. But the challenge of tackling the twisty-turny time travel nonsense of that film was another one of the reasons I like started the whole project, because of that one challenge.
Wow.
Like that again, that's a little peek in here. I haven't started that one yet. I'm saving it because that one's gonna require a lot of cork board and pins and string and little flags. Like, I'm gonna look like a crazy conspiracy theorist by the time I'm done with that. That one's gonna be a challenge for sure. The good news is that that was a film I watched a lot as a kid, and I've watched it a lot since, and I have a pretty good grasp of what they were trying to do. Because the thing about Godzilla versus King Ghidorah is intent versus execution. The time travel in that film makes about 85% sense, I think, once you really like pay attention to the script and you realize what they were trying to do and what the intent was. But the other 15% are holes that don't let the puzzle fit together just right. There's an answer. Like, that's what I love about Godzilla versus King Ghidorah, is that if you look hard enough, if you pay attention, like, you can figure out the time travel in that film. Like, you can figure out what rules it's following and how it all does make sense. But a couple of the puzzle pieces have rough edges and they don't fit together. And that's what my novelization is going to do for that film, is it's going to take the rough edges and just kind of not sand them down, because I don't want to remove anything, but bulk them out a little bit so that it'll all fit. And I don't want to get, that's a rabbit hole I'm not going to get into, because we'll be here another hour and I don't want to do that to anyone. But it is going to be, I guess the one example I'll give is, because there's a lot of weird stuff going on, and it is going to take some inference and a little bit of headcanon territory to fill in the gaps in that film. And this is for you, Nathan. One of the things that always jumps out at me about the script is the one that's actually legitimately like a big plot hole is the moment in the script where Wilson and Granchico discuss why there can't be two people in the same time period at once, because one of them, the universe will correct by removing one of them from existence. One of them will vanish, and we never see that happen in the film. There's no proof that that's actually a thing within the film's universe, and the end of the film literally contradicts it, because Mecha King Ghidorah comes back, and there's obviously King Ghidorah is still laying down there with two heads in a coma while Mecha King Ghidorah is there. So the film is violating its own time travel rule. So
maybe the ruling only applies to humans.
Maybe it only applies to humans. Yeah. I have a couple of ideas about how to tackle that, and both of them work. And there's one, and it's kind of like the lame one, where it's like, well, the Futurians were just lying. How would they know? Like, maybe they just made it up because they didn't want to bring they didn't want to bring anybody along back to the island. Like, maybe they really didn't like Shindo. They wanted to leave Shindo behind, which makes no sense because Shindo is awesome. But maybe there's another reason, and I have a couple of theories I'm working with that would make sense if you squint and turn your head sideways a bit. But it's going to be, I think I have one theory that I'm going to go with, and I'm not going to say what it is yet because I want it to be a surprise. But I have a way to work around it that might make sense, and I have to develop it further and run it through, like, because I'm going to be doing a lot of research on time travel. I love time travel stories, which is probably one of the reasons I love the film so much. But I'm going to be doing some research on time travel, and just to make sure I can at least make it sound smarter than it might actually be, because that's my thing. I have to try to sound smarter than I actually am. Doesn't always work.
That's okay. All right. I think that is all the questions we have for tonight. Just one last one. Where can people find you and your work?
All right. If you lovely, lovely people out there are intrigued by the words that have fallen out of my face for the last hour, you can find the Godzilla Novelization Project easily enough at GodzillaNovelizationProject.com. As of last year, it was .wordpress.com, which means that in the middle of all of my text was a bunch of ads for like foot cream and Flex Seal. So that's not there anymore. Thank you to my patrons for that, big time. I don't like asking for money, so I'm always bad about plugging my Patreon, but I'll get to that in a sec. But yeah, Godzilla Novelization Project.com. I post updates there whenever whenever a new chapter goes live, whenever anything else goes live. There's a section where you can read all the books. There's a section for the short stories, and there's also the timelines that are on there as well, which is another side project that I haven't touched those in a hot minute, but that's going to be a cool section when it develops more, and you can discover that for yourself when you go there. If you would like to follow along with the project on social media, you can find me on Twitter as Danzilla93_GNP, and I do all kinds of silly things over there. And again, I try to maintain a generally positive attitude. I don't post negative, horrible, terrible things on my Twitter, which makes me a kind of an anomaly on Twitter, honestly. But yeah, you know what I mean? Like you have a very lovely, like, positive page too. And it's like, it's weird when you get in there. It's like, should I be mean? Like, I feel like it's like, no, of course not. Of course not. Like, of course not. I run a positive page. I don't put up with and again, being critical and being negative are not the same thing necessarily. So, but it's all about how you do it. So if you want to hang out on a positive Godzilla page that shares funny pictures and updates, and sometimes I take pictures of things in my collection and I share them, go there. GNP has a Facebook page you can go to, and you can follow along there. You can also leave reviews on that page if you want to, like, have a conversation with me, or you have questions, or you want to accuse me of ruining your childhood, or you want to be or say nice things about me. It doesn't matter. Just please be gentle. Please, I'm a gentle soul. Please be nice. Or you have, like, honestly, I mentioned it before. If you have legitimate criticisms or things that need to be fixed that you find in the books, issues to bring to my attention, Godzilla Novelization Project @gmail.com. You can email me those, and all the contact stuff is on a contact page on the website. So if you want to find me, I'm very easy to get a hold of. I do have a Patreon, and I'm getting very close to being able to produce physical goodies, which is going to be nice. And you can go there. I won't go through the whole Patreon spiel, but you can go there and see if you find a tier that is interesting for you, that you might want to jump in. And I also have to plug that right now I'm doing a giveaway contest.
Ooh.
Yes. It runs until this Friday, June 4th. So if you're like me, and I know I am, you like free stuff. And I've got some cool free Godzilla stuff to give away. I've got the Mechagodzilla Funko Pop. I've got some of the Ultraman comics and Ultraman Blu-ray, some of the keychains that are behind me. I'm giving some of those away. Little Godzilla keychains, and all you have to do to enter the raffle is leave a review or a rating for the project. If you have a favorite book, write a little. It can be one word. It can be a star rating, and again, it doesn't have to be like overly glowing, and it doesn't have to. If you have a 4-star, you can leave 4 out of 5 stars. It's fine. If you do that, then I will enter you in the raffle, and you might win some cool Godzilla stuff. But yeah. And just in general, no matter how you want to talk to me, if you just want to, like, talk about Godzilla, just hit me up and talk to me about Godzilla. I love that stuff. Just talk to me. Tell me what your favorite Godzilla film is. Tell me how you found the character. Tell me what he means to you. Tell me your fan fiction ideas. I mean, I've had people send me their fan fictions before. I had one guy send me a book he wrote so that I could read it and review it for him, which was really, really cool. I'm open to all that stuff because I love existing in a positive space for Godzilla fans, because the internet can be a little rough sometimes, especially if you're a new fan, because we just had a new Godzilla movie come out, and there are a lot of new fans that might be a little, I know I would be, and I was when I was younger, like a little bit nervous to jump into a Facebook group and say, hey, I like Godzilla, because you never know. There might be a mean person, and you never know. But if you're one of those people and you just want to, like, talk about Godzilla or ask questions, hit me up. New fans are the best. We're glad to have you. That's how these things grow. Godzilla's meant to be enjoyed by everyone, so enjoy him, and enjoy him in a place where you feel comfortable and safe doing it. And I hope I provide that place, because that's the other thing about the project, is I really hope I can provide a place where people can just come and have fun, and just talk about something that means a lot to them. That's really my my thing. Whether it's a silly post I make, a silly picture I share, or a book that I write that might entertain you. This is cheesy, I'm going to say it anyway. If anything I'm able to do put smiles on faces, then I've succeeded. That's as far as I'm concerned. So that's my mission statement. And scene.
Very good. Well, you put a smile on my face, Daddy.
Well, thank you. And you on mine as well.
Aw, I'm glad. Well, thank you so much for coming on to my stream. It was a pleasure having you.
It was a pleasure to be here. Thank you so much for inviting me. This was a lot of fun.
It was a lot of fun. All right. And to you watching at home, thank you for taking a few minutes out of your day to hang out with me. Please do consider subscribing if you haven't already. I stream every Sunday at 7 p.m. Eastern Time. And got some wholesome and delightfully stupid content coming your way very soon. All right. Thanks for watching.